Hi, my name is Ashley Medicks. I'm 60 years of age and I live in a glorious cottage on a farm opposite a village called Cutaneous, which is not far from Dalbeattie or Dumfries in the glorious Dumfries and Galloway. I'm here today at Glencoe to help my friend Roger Lever film people talking about themselves. So this is a bit of a role reversal, if you like, a gamekeeper turned poacher event for me. We had a bit of a quiet moment and Roger said, how about talking to camera yourself? And this is part of a project that I've been supporting Roger with over the last few months, and a project that I've got a lot of enthusiasm for. 1,000 Faces Scotland is aiming to capture the soul of Scotland by photographing and filming its people, talking to camera about who they are. I suppose if I think about it, and in terms of answering the question, why am I who I am? One of the defining moments in my life was at the age of 17, being diagnosed with cutaneous T cell lymphoma. This is an incurable form of lymphatic cancer. It manifests itself in the skin, and it's a pretty devastating diagnosis to get. However, I have lived with it successfully for 43 years. I'm lucky in that sense, not everybody does. And I think if I ask myself why I have been so fortunate to do so well with the disease, it's because cutaneous T cell lymphoma or Mycosis Fungoides or non-Hodgkin's T cell lymphoma, they're all the same thing, is a cancer of the immune system, and I have attempted to look after my immune system very well. I have had an interesting life. I've enjoyed myself immensely. It was a great time to be young, growing up in the late 60s, early 70s. I was very politically active. I then traveled a great deal and then settled down into a business career, which I enjoyed. I worked hard at, and I was successful in the sense that I was an innovator. I came up with an idea to put a barcode on a next day parcel. Nobody had done it up until that time. People were reading labels in depots and hopefully putting parcels on the right conveyor belt for the next stage of the journey. To get a long story short, that went very well, and that enabled me to pursue my hobby of motor racing. I then, along with my lovely wife Jackie, we've been married for 34 years, travelled 2.5 years around the glorious continent where I was born, of Africa. I was born in Nairobi. My father grew up in Nairobi. My grandfather had a business in Nairobi in 1902. So I'm an African, and we took Monty the motorhome, a Mark I Ford Transit motorhome, 70,000 miles around Africa for 2.5 years. Ralphie, our frisbee playing dog, came with us, and we had the most amazing adventures, following which my life took a big change. I came back to the house where we were living at the time in Essex, a changed person. When you spend a great deal of time with tribal people, people such as the Bedouin and the Zamburu and the Maasai, and you have the ability and the time to study their culture and compare the way in which they live their lives to the very sometimes fast-paced and stressful materialistic life that we live in the West, it changes you. And we were changed, both of us. It took us about, I suppose, a year to readjust back into life in this country. And during that time, I decided to look into the possibility of making a documentary film for the BBC on the subject of what it's like to live with a whole body disfiguring skin problem. I was fortunate to get a space on the Open Space program, which gave me the BBC editorial and technical backing to film a half-an-hour documentary which went out in 1994, in December 1994. It was called Scratching the Surface. We had a mother and child with eczema living in a tower block in Wimbledon. We had a lot of information and powerful images of how skin disease can affect people's lives. And this documentary and the research that we did for it led to my considering the idea of setting up a dermatology helpline, because there wasn't a general dermatology helpline at the time. Nobody was offering information and or psychological and emotional support to the millions of people. There are 12 million, roughly speaking, people in the UK alone who suffer various common skin diseases like eczema, psoriasis, acne, and other rare diseases like my own, and skin cancers, etc. At the end of quite a tortuous process, Skinship UK was established. Ben Elton, the writer and comedian, is a patron. Dr. Mark Porter, the GP who does a lot of radio and TV work, is also a patron. And we have a doctor and other trustees. I've run Skinship now for nearly 20 years on a voluntary basis, and if you ask me to compare my life as a founder, director of Skinship, offering help and support to people who need it in the field of skin disease, with my business career, and you said to me, which did you enjoy the most? I know what my answer would be. I have loved the work that I do. It is a privilege to allow people to open up their lives to me in a way that perhaps they wouldn't sometimes do even with their family and their friends, which sometimes enables me through the empathetic stance that I have and also the knowledge base that I have of having studied skin diseases for 20 odd years, to offer some help and support in a way that, because of the comments that I tend to get at the end of each call, make me feel, when I put my head on the pillow at the end of every day, that I have perhaps made a difference, a positive difference in someone's life, and that's an amazing feeling. It really is. My wife and I moved to Scotland in 2001. We honeymooned here 34 years ago. We love Scotland. We always thought it would be wonderful to try and find somewhere to live that was perhaps close to a town but in the countryside. And after over 2 years of searching, we found Plascow Cottage, a place on a farm opposite Cutaneous, as I said, not far from Dumfries. We have views out of every window to die for. We are so lucky to have found this little piece of heaven that is now our home. And not only are we happy physically with the place that we live, but we have been so fortunate to have met some really wonderful, loving, caring, interesting, creative people who we are very proud now to call our close friends. And the chap who is standing behind the camera to my right, Roger Lever, is one of them, I am very proud to say. I don't think I've got anything more to say, Roger.